Hey, everybody.
What's going on?
Um, well,
Okay, cool. We're on the actual stream too.
all right, sweet. I only have one monitor, so you're gonna have to keep on. You're gonna have to keep reminding me if something's going wrong or something. Welcome everybody to another edition of the Phil's Realm podcast, joined by a very special guest, the most special and guesty of the special guests, my good friend, Ratman or Kyle.
What's actually funny is we've met each other in real life.
Exactly. So it's been it's
Nice.
extra special.
Why is it called Phil's? Like it's on Discord as Phil, but where's the Phil part?
That's my name.
I thought it was Colton.
Oh no, dude, that's retarded.
Is it really Phil?
Yes, for all intensive purposes, that is my name. I forgot. You forgot to sign the non-disclosure agreement. I think we're gonna have to restart this whole stream.
Yeah, well,
You messed up the whole thing.
no.
Well. Anyway, there's this meme of this hockey player. His name's Phil Kessel, and he's like a meme. So, I guess that's where I got the Phil's Realm from. I see you're rocking your cat shirt. Very nice. What's the occasion?
Honestly, I wear this shirt all the time, especially when I have to go up to the rent office for my apartment because everyone flips out about it. It's a random shirt I got at Walmart. I've got another one like it, but I love wearing it. But today, it's because it's Catman.
Oh, my old username.
Apparently, I look like a Viking.
You are a fucking Viking.
I guess that's true.
Anyway, you are fucking like, what are you, 6'3"? I remember meeting you and you were fucking tall.
No, I'm like 6 foot, maybe 6'1".
Okay, yeah. Well, you were maybe. Well, how long ago did you? When was that? You came over with your wife on your honeymoon.
Yes. So that was January 9th or something, somewhere around that time. Because I remember the week we left. And do you still live in Boulder, or is that where your parents' house is? Like around that area?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. My parents' house is around that area.
We were heading up to Estes to be the dumbasses that we are and get my truck stuck again. And
I remember that.
Yeah. We were going to Estes Park, and your house was along the way, and I really wanted to like meet you and stuff. And
yeah, I invited you.
She really, really, really did not want to meet you.
I could tell. Yeah. She's very
so we get there, and it was basically, hi, I'm Catman. That's the cat that I have that made me get my name or whatever. It's just a really sweet cat. And we hung out for a little bit, and she kind of chilled the fuck out. And then I think we went to Estes Park. And I can't remember if that's the day we got stuck on the cliff or not. I'm sure everyone here would love to hear that story.
Well, I mean,
have I even told you?
I don't think so. Let's get into it. Go ahead. Let's hear it.
Okay, so if it wasn't already obvious, I was married. Keyword was. And we were going to Colorado because my wife at the time. Well, no, actually, it had nothing to do with you. It had a little bit to do with my sister lives there, but it really was my wife had never been outside of the state, except for when I took her to Oklahoma on the motorcycle. So I wanted to show her something completely different. She had never even seen snow. And I took her there, rented this really crappy cabin, ended up having to get a refund on that, but that's its own story. And we wanted to avoid being in the cabin as much as possible. So we basically just drove around and found stuff to do. One of my goals was to go to Rocky Mountain National Park. I wanted to do Pikes Peak, but I wasn't able to that time. Anyways, so we went there, and it was in the middle of a blizzard and just really terrible conditions. And I can't remember the name of the mountain. I want to say it was Prospector Mountain or something. And we went up there because at Estes Park, there's like this mountain in the distance. We're like, I wonder if we could get up there. And keep in mind, my truck at the time was a 2001 Nissan Pathfinder. It had snow tires, but it was two-wheel drive.
A Nissan, dude. Come on.
Yes, I now drive something else, which I'll talk about that later. But it was given to me. It was free. So, and I love the thing. But We drove up the mountain, got up there fine, and there's like this Y intersection thing. And there was a Chevy Impala that was parked damn near in the middle of the road to where we couldn't turn around. And it was just super deep snow and then ice underneath that. So we couldn't back up because if we went this way, where the Impala was, it was almost vertical and a corkscrew.
Mm-hmm.
And if we tried to back up, the only way we could go was back and then up vertical again. It was this weird dip thing. So because of the Impala, we got stuck in the snow. And for 3 hours, I was digging and destroying the transmission, rocking it back and forth, deflating the tires.
Nice.
I had sandbags with me. I actually had a lot of equipment to get out of situations, but it was really bad. And finally, after hours and hours and hours doing this, I managed to slam my truck in the back of a tree, which is a good thing because that meant I was unstuck. So naturally, now we go to get it turned around. And as I'm sure you're already aware, many of the mountains in Colorado don't have guardrails. It's kind of weird.
It's true.
For whatever reason, they're just sheer cliffs, and there's lots of signs say, drive safe, this person died here. Well, that was the same thing that happened there. We got the truck in the middle of the three-point turn, and then there was just snow and ice underneath that. And so we're trying to back it up, no traction, and there's like this embankment that we can't go up against.
What time of this was in the summer, wasn't it?
No. This was January.
Oh, yeah.
Remember there was that big snowstorm and stuff?
Yep, yeah.
Yeah, it was 2016. So we got stuck in this one area, and we could move forward 3 inches to a foot or backwards the same amount, but we couldn't turn around. And if we kept going forward, we just drop off the whole of the mountain. It was awful. So I tried a little bit more, tried getting it unstuck, and what was actually happening is the tires had traction, but it was melting the ice, and it was getting colder, so it would just freeze in the tread pattern of the tire.
Right.
So I ended up giving up because at this point it's like, okay, drop off the cliff or keep trying pointlessly because it's too big to turn around. Every bit of success I get, it slides down a little bit sideways, which is not helping. So by this point, I want to say it was 11 o'clock at night or something. We start hiking down the mountain. It's blowing really, really cold.
You ditched the car.
Yeah, we ditched the car completely. Gave up. Didn't care if it was towed. And it's blocking the middle of the road. Like, if this is the road, that was my car.
Right.
Couldn't move it. And no towing company could come. The law enforcement couldn't do anything. They were actually about to, dispatch a helicopter because they were concerned we were trapped there. Hike down the mountain, try to get help. We found a 4-wheel drive Suburban that just drove past us off. Get down to the sort of main road, and I had brought a flashlight with me, a really big one with a strobing thing on it, because I was hoping we'd get picked up. We had to hitchhike at this point. There's no nearby hotels. We were actually trying to get to a hardware store or something to maybe get more materials, anything. We find a newer Suburban. And I turned the strobe on. They actually stopped for us and were trying to make sure we were okay. Gave us a ride all the way back into town. Very generous people. Gave us charging cables and stuff. Let us use their cell phone. Actually, the hotel they took us to, they stayed and made sure we could get a room. And they were on their way to a doctor's appointment, so we were shocked. But we get to the hotel. Super, super nice people. She had 2 dogs that chill out with her in the lobby. The hotel person. It was really cool. She heard what happened to us, gave us the best suite they had, or the second best. I think they had a private cabin, and for $100, nothing. Right. The next morning, we call this company called Bob's Towing, which was recommended by the law enforcement, and they bring out this 1970s Chevy pickup or something. It's custom built. It's got its own 4-wheel drive and towing system. It's janky, honestly. I was kind of concerned. Because when I was going up the mountain in relatively okay conditions, I was sliding going up. I had enough traction, but I had to modulate the throttle. We get up there, and he starts freewheeling the spool thing for the tow hook. And all the tow hooks for my vehicle are over the ledge of the mountain, so he couldn't get to those, and he pulls on my wheel. And I want to say it was negative 12 degrees on the top of the mountain, so my car didn't really want to start. It was covered in a good 4 or 5 inches of snow, which was fun. He pulls me straight and then discovers that there's no real way to pull me down the mountain, which kind of made sense. So he's like, okay, we're going to drive in front of you. You're going to follow us. And I'm thinking, okay, what happens when we hit a patch of ice and both of us just roll into a tree? Get down to the bottom of the mountain. So by this point, it's maybe a 10-foot toe, if that. And we get down to the bottom of the mountain. I'm like, all right, how much do I owe you? And I think he said something like $180. And I'm thinking, wow, this is bullshit, but whatever. And my tires are still deflated. I have a pump on hand, but it was kind of damaged in the trip. Get the tires up to like 15 psi, go to a gas station, fill it up, and then we went home and got our money back for the cabin after seeing the hotel and seeing how nice it was. But this happened 3 times on the same trip. 3 different mountains, including the Rocky Mountain National Park.
Well, you gotta stop taking shitty cars up into the Rockies, man. That's not a good place.
When I came back to Colorado, the time I didn't visit you, I actually took my new car and did Pikes Peak, which is really, really fun until I got stuck behind slow traffic.
It's a 15 or 14K mountain. 14,000 feet.
I think it's 14,486 feet.
Yeah, it's a big one.
I wanted to see the performance deprecation in a turbocharged car because my other one was naturally aspirated. My current car is a 2017 Ford Fiesta ST with a stage 1 tune on it, replaced motor mounts for more rigid ones, better tires that were really not rated for Colorado. When they sold them to me, they're like, oh, we only sell these in Texas because we don't have snow. I'm like, oh, I'm going to Colorado in a week. They're like, oh. So yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, it's the weather here is crazy. I mean, Colorado weather is.
I heard you on your last stream complaining about 90 degrees.
It's hot.
I mean, 90 is hot. I'll give you that. But at least
hot.
You guys don't have humidity.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's better without humidity, but we're not used to we don't like the heat. I like a good 50 degrees. That's 55 degrees is about the optimal temperature for me, and I don't mind. I don't mind below freezing or anything. But for those
is asking who the fuck I am.
Oh well, I was just about to say that. So now everybody's settled into the stream. This is my good friend. Kyle. His name was Ratman 150. He was one of the first scripters for the Third Crusade, actually. And he was a donor to several of my projects. And that's kind of how we became friends. He would fund some of my projects. And eventually, at one point, he was actually leading ACA with me in a kind of dual mentorship position that didn't work out at all.
Diarchy.
The diarchy, yeah.
Actually, wasn't it like Triarchy at one point? There's like some third guy.
Yeah, GHS. That was awful. It didn't work out. So, but needless to say, again, I mean, we are friends, and he did come up to visit me at one point, although it was like 5 minutes, and coffee. But Ratman's been through a lot in the last few years, so I wanted to catch up with him. He's been through a marriage and a divorce. He is a rammer, so to speak. I guess retired rammer, maybe.
I kind of disappeared from everyone's life over the last 2 years. I stopped playing Roblox for the most part. I was playing Minecraft recently, but not very many games. I was just working my ass off, and for a while there, especially when I was married, I didn't talk to anybody, which had everything to do with the fact that my wife didn't want me to. She got really pissed at me for installing Discord on my own computer.
The games you play are so memey. You play the most meme games. Let me explain to everybody, okay? Ratman, this is what he says. I'm paraphrasing, but this is exactly what happened. All right? Exactly what happened through paraphrase. So, Ratman's like, hey, I'm getting married. And then he's like, you want to come to the wedding? I'm like, yeah. I can't, but I couldn't. I couldn't make it because it was near Christmas time. So, ended up, he gets married. And then, the next day, I see him online on Roblox. And it's like the day after he got married. And it's just this Ratman playing Lumber Tycoon 2.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that. So for a while,
I was like, the big married man. He's really matured. He's really coming into his own. This is the first thing he wanted to do as a new man, and he's playing Lumber Tycoon 2. Jesus, that game. Could you be any more memey? And you're always playing. And I always see you playing Minecraft on Discord. It's funny.
So for a while, every time I got on Roblox, I'd get a message, especially if I was playing for a couple days, and be like, "Bless him, Ratman finally enlisted in the army,
Oh,
protecting our freedoms."
oh, that was an awesome one I did. So I also logged on one time, and you were playing 1973 Vietnam on Roblox,
And it was, yeah,
and I was like, oh, I have all these saved on a photo file somewhere, but it was like
you should pull them
it's
up.
like Ratman finally decided to enlist in the army. God bless your service, Ratman.
Thank you for your
And
service.
I always post them in the Phil's Realm Discord. Oh, one of them was like a different game you were playing. It was like some like retail store game. I was like,
I think it was like a role-playing game. I was with my friend or something.
right. I was like, Ratman finally got a new job. He's not working at Best Buy anymore. And so just every time you were playing a Roblox game, I would be like, Ratman's doing it. He's the big man. He's. It's funny though, and you know we like to meme you, but whatever, man. Play whatever games you want. I don't care.
Recently, I've been trying to expand out more, and I have to do some upgrades to my computer because I have a first-gen Titan and I'm running 4K now, so I actually can't play very many games. But I've been trying to find something interesting, and I recently discovered that the ratings on Steam and the recommendations from Steam both suck, and just because everyone thinks a popular game is good does not actually make it good.
Right. Well, it's all opinion, right?
Yeah.
There's some shitty games that people love.
I was playing
Fortnite, for example.
Oh, I got really into Fortnite for a little while. I think it was Rise of the Tomb Raider or something. Whatever the reboot game was, I bought it off Steam the other day, actually, and tried playing it, and then sent a request to Steam for a refund because it was that bad, in my opinion. It was just horrible.
Jesus. Yeah, some of them... I don't play, dude. I go through phases. I'll play console games for like 3 months, and then I'll switch it to PC games for 3 months. But
I was gonna buy a PS4.
They're good, man. It's worth it. All the exclusives are on PS4. God of War,
the good
Spider-Man.
games that I'm interested in are on PS4.
Right.
And I've played my friends' PS4 and PS4 Pro and Xbox Ones. My brother has one, but they don't support crossplay. And because of how my house is, if you don't know anything about me, there's like dozens of computers running at any given time here. And I wanted to be able to play across those things. It wasn't worth my time.
Well, I don't know. The big debate is always console versus PC. I think console games are better as far as I'd much rather sit down on the couch and play a console game for 8 hours than a PC game. And here's why. Is because I'm like relaxing. I'm on the couch. I'm using a controller. I don't have all these distractions. On a PC, you got these messages popped up, especially if you have 2 or 3 monitors. But with a console game, I can just immerse myself in the game for however long.
I actually built a computer just so we could lay in bed and play games.
Jeez, man, you're like the fucking Catman here, dude. All right.
There's another one. He's not here right now.
I don't even own a cat, man, except for my parents. You're the Catman here. You got the cat T-shirt, the cat mouse pad, the cat. It's Did you just buy those for today?
Yeah, I just adopted him for today. This is actually a renting cat program.
You found her on the street?
Yeah.
Okay, I can use you.
This is Jake. Jake is really, really sweet.
Where's Peanut?
You mean the rat?
Yeah, Peanut the rat, man.
He's been dead for 12 years.
The one that got it all started.
He's been dead for a while. There was another one, which I had very briefly, and I had to give it to my friend because my dad was an asshole about it. And then they went on to own, I want to say 5 or 6 other rats. Past that, they loved him to death. But I haven't had any for a while. I have fish right now. I'm wanting to get rats, but my apartment's really, really tiny. So it's not happening right now.
Well, yeah, rats, I don't really consider a rat a pet. I'd consider it like a menace to society. But
well, there you go. That's
you know what, man? If you like having rats as pets, we live in a free country, and I'm sure you can do that. There's people with fucking flamingos in their backyard, so
Actually, okay, so where my parents live, there's like these really expensive $1 million houses not far from there. And there's people who keep like alpacas, flamingos. What's that fucking big ass feathery bird that's got the peacock? There's a couple peacocks and stuff. And they just roam around. And that's not even that uncommon here in Texas.
Texans are fucking crazy. I appreciate Texans more than Californians, though. Or, yeah, mostly just don't like Californians. They're just a lot of Californians in my town, and I'm friends with a lot of them, but there's just like pretentious attitude that comes with being from California. And Texas is more like an asshole attitude, like Tarkle.
Yes.
But, but at the same time, they're not. They have a sense of humor, and they're not like fucking self-righteous. Californians are like, oh, the Mexican food here sucks. Sacramento, we have such good Mexican food. I'm like, dude, then go back to Sacramento. Why are you here? No one wants you here. You fucking don't.
Kind of strange. Why would you move from California to Colorado?
Right. Well, and that's the thing. It's like they don't know how to drive in the snow, so they cause all these fucking accidents. They're all druggies, and they basically ruin the state. So, yeah, I mean, we're all druggies too, I guess, but they're like doing heroin. So,
I was on Craigslist the other day looking for a window AC unit, and I found this ad, and it was listed as like '05 Honda Civic or something, which I thought, okay, maybe just the keyword AC pulled that up. But the picture was like, for sale, marijuana, crack, pills of all kinds and stuff. And then
nice.
The whole ad was a good like 5-page novel of just keywords and stuff. And I thought, that seems like the best way to get your ass in jail.
Well, you've heard of like the dark web sites that you can just order, like Amazon ship heroin to your house.
Oh yeah.
It's like,
but it's pretty complicated to do. It's not just like, oh, you put on a VPN and you're good to go. Especially not Tor. For anybody looking to get secure web browsing, do not use Tor.
Well, we don't want to promote this here, but if you do want to buy heroin, Ratman,
I said secure web browsing. I did not say buy.
Ratman, go ahead. Tell them all how they can buy heroin. Go ahead.
So if you'd like to get to the deep web, depending on where you want to go, because there are some like Tor specific sites, but you would have to run another VPN on top of that. Tor is very insecure.
VPN squared.
Kind of. It's really just risky. There's definitely honeypots and things like that. I personally have not tried it.
Oh, really?
My friends have. I think one of my friends have. No, I have not.
You haven't gotten heroin off the internet yet?
No.
I don't think you've really lived until you've ordered heroin off the internet.
I thought about ordering a weapon of mass destruction because you used to be able to do that. You used to be able to buy like literal missiles from the internet, which was kind of cool. But,
let me ask you a question. Now that we're on the topic of drugs and the substances that are harmful to your body. So I just got back from the doctor, and she says I gotta quit caffeine, nicotine.
Caffeine, really?
Caffeine, nicotine, cranberry, which sucks because I have a lot of cranberry juice. And what else?
Wait, do you vape?
Oh, I'm already off dairy and wheat. No, but I had a vape for a while, and then I realized I was an asshole, and it did. I kind of felt like shit. But here's the thing:
that guy.
I do still like have an occasional cigar or puff on a friend's vape or something. So it kind of sucks because I do enjoy nicotine. Kids, don't try nicotine. It's very addictive.
It's awesome.
Stop. There's like 12-year-olds watching this.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
This is a young kiddo's channel. That's why they like me, because I swear, use profane words. Well, let me get your.
If you're gonna try nicotine,
let me ask you something. What side of the debate are you on? Do you think vaping is actually not detrimental to your health, or what do you think?
So, I'm more of an advanced vapor. I actually build my own coils. I build my own devices. Here's a prototype that I'm working on right now.
I really liked how you touched yourself when I'm an advanced vapor. That was such a California move.
Thank you. Anyways, I am though. I even make my own e-juice in some cases, but there are definitely negative side effects depending on what you do. For example, if you use, this is a tank that got sent to me for free. I'm not sure why, but if you use these kind of tanks, they use these little cartridge things in them.
Yep.
And the cotton itself is not replaceable. If they run dry, you can actually cause combustion, which definitely is not great for your health. Certain e-juices contain like things like sugar and stuff, which can caramelize, and I'm pretty sure you don't want that.
The industry is unregulated. The vaping industry
actually, that is completely incorrect. The FDA took control of them a couple years ago, and it is strictly regulated now. And
really,
America, it's not as regulated as, say, Europe. In Europe, for example, do I have one? No, I don't. So this is a 5 milliliter bottle. In Europe, you can only buy 10, like 10 milliliters. That's the maximum you're allowed to buy. And
typical here is 20. Typical bottles is 15 to 20, right?
So this is a 240 milliliter bottle. You can just order these. I actually have larger ones for like when I make stuff. Here's a liter. But typically, I would say 30 to 60 is pretty common in your average vape shop. But in Europe, so this is a 5 milliliter tank. The maximum you can have in Europe is 2.5, which would be a lot closer to that. It's really strictly regulated. I think what can go in the e-juice, the type of batteries.
Well, but it wasn't for a while. I mean, people were putting like at one point it could have been more harmful than cigarettes with the amount of fucking chemicals people were just pouring into the vapes. I think now that it is more regulated, it's fine. Like when I was vaping, I did pure natural vegetable glycol, I think. Or glycerin, one of the two, and just like natural flavors with nicotine because I was nervous about the health risks. But even with that, like I had like weird sores in my mouth, and like my mouth would be super dry, and I didn't like it because like I felt like every day I was just puffing on the thing, and it didn't seem celebratory, or it just became. And then you need to buy more and do it more to get more of a buzz. It's just such a fucking hassle.
Depending on what type of juice you use, because I didn't realize this until I went to actually buy in large volumes the chemicals I need to make this stuff. Depending on what you use, you can get different reactions. Like VG is obviously vegetable based. PG is like polyethylene glycol, and the problem is that it freaks people out.
Propane glycol. One of them is actually called propane glycol. Like how is that?
Here, I have it. It's this.
Propylene. Well, whatever. Yes. Propylene. It sounds similar enough to scare the shit out of me.
Well, the thing is, it's been used in food products for a long, long time. It's actually really, really safe. But the problem is because it's so safe, the automotive industry has decided to use it in place of not so safe antifreezes. Because if you didn't know this, antifreeze is sweet, and animals lick it up, and then they die.
Cats.
PG, I don't know exactly what antifreeze properties it has, but it does have antifreeze properties, and it's being replaced, it's less corrosive, etc. The problem is you get the same people who freak out about vaccines, and they're like, oh, it's in antifreeze, it must be dangerous, but it isn't. Some people are allergic to PG. Some people, it bothers their throat. I know when I first started vaping, I stayed away from it because I was scared of it, but I've come to realize it's really not that bad. But there is, this is called PEG 400, which I believe is like polyethylene glycol formula 400. I bought this for a project, and then I discovered, one, it tastes horrible on its own, which is not good when you're trying to make e-juice, and two, in large quantities, like far more than you could ever vape. I think you'd have to drink a fair amount of this bottle. It's lethal. So yeah, this kind of stuff does scare people.
Well, and another thing is that even though propylene glycol has been used in foods and stuff, it's much different, like chemically, to heat something up to a certain temperature. So something that's harmless, when heated up to a certain temperature, can be a pure carcinogen. Like there's tons of things like that. It's not.
One common debate right now is, of course, the safety of marijuana.
Yeah.
And there's several different ways to consume it. You can obviously smoke it. You can vape the flower itself. You can create an e-juice and vape that. And they each have their own little thing.
Edibles.
However, well, yeah, but I meant like inhaling, without using like an actual inhaler. But if you were to burn the flower, then you're introducing combustion, carbon monoxide, very possibly. You have butane, if you're using that, all sorts of other things. And you're heating up the material in your lungs. Depending on how you consume it, you might actually get raw burning flour in your thing. However, you can vape the flour, and you stay right below the combustion point, and it vaporizes, I guess, the THC. And that is considered safer. But then even safer than that is to extract the THC from it and then put it in e-juice, because that's even half the temperature of vaporizing it.
Well, one huge issue I have with vaping is it's that somebody who would have never smoked a cigarette is much more likely to hit a vape, right?
Oh, definitely.
That's the first thing I ever, like, I was pretty straight edge and my friends were vaping all the time. I was like, okay, let me try that. But it was made to be a way to help smokers quit or get off smoking. And if you look at all the tests and studies, smoking is, I think they say, vaping's still 95% better than smoking. But the issue is that even though there's no tar, what happens is, like, let's say if I blew like a puff of vape on this phone, the cloud would go away, but there'd still be perspiration on the actual screen. And that's what's happening to your lungs. So basically, people just have water sitting in their lungs, which isn't good. So it's still not healthy.
The thing, so, you know, cigarettes used to be like that too. Oh, let me take that. In fact, when I was in high school, that's kind of how it was.
Right.
But it's so, every time I have this out with my friends or something, I'll be vaping on it, and they'll be like, oh, can I try it? Yeah. But what I did discover is I actually looked into nicotine patches and stuff. I'm a little bit addicted to nicotine, but I actually use it more because it helps me focus.
You're definitely fully addicted to nicotine. Like, there's no doubt. You have like 6 vape mods you just showed everybody.
Because I find it fun.
No one's a little addicted to nicotine. You're either addicted to nicotine or not.
I can go days on it and not have to vape. I'm not actually addicted to the nicotine.
Right, but you still would have a craving for nicotine, right?
Not really, actually. I never do. But anyways, I looked at the patches and the gum and stuff because, again, it did help with focus. And what I discovered very quickly is they're really, really expensive. So I think the patches were like up to $40 for just 1 week. Whereas I could spend $40 on e-juice, and that would easily last me a month, maybe even 2. So I understand why vaping took off so much. It's also just fun to be able to and blow a huge cloud everywhere. Like, I joke with my
it's really fun.
Yeah. I joke with my roommate about, I was like, hey, can I get a fog machine? And she goes, yes. And then she knows I fully meant an actual fog machine in our tiny ass apartment, but I thought it was funny.
So tell me, let's change subjects.
Yes.
I didn't want to get to this right away, but I am very curious because something I'm interested in is relationships between men and women, and kind of.
I noticed that. Yes, you are.
Yeah. So the difference between what a traditional relationship looks like, and then kind of debunking myths that for example, a woman can't domestically abuse a man, right? Stuff like that. And things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not a men's rights activist, because I think they're just as toxic as the feminists, to be honest. But I am curious because I don't think it's spoken about at all. So I don't, and you don't have to get into it, but I'm curious with kind of how your relationship. First of all, when did you decide that you wanted to marry the girl, and how did that kind of turn south into a divorce?
Okay, so my ex-wife, there was a lot more factors than just surface level. First of all, I'm really a faithful person, and I didn't want to just up and leave for some reason. I wanted to try and work through whatever conflicts we had. I wanted to try and seek therapy, etc. So, see, I want to say it was April or something.
Well, how did you meet? And I want to know about Kind of tell
Okay.
the story of the relationship.
So we actually met in high school. I think I was a junior and she was a freshman. She's extremely small. You saw her.
Tiny, yeah.
She was like a 90-pound person.
Yeah.
Full 5 foot or maybe 4'11". Anyways, really small, very, very, very anxious. So didn't make friends easily. And for whatever reason, she ended up sitting next to me in a digital arts animation class I had taken to try and get out of a fine arts credit. And I try to be a very social person with just about anybody, really. And I could tell that she was extremely quiet and kind of just withdrawn. So I would make conversation. And I started to find out that the people she would call friends had abandoned her or were picking on her or whatever. And also for whatever reason, because the class I was taking was just so easy, I actually did the whole year's work in like 2 weeks. And so anytime she had problems with the project, I'd usually just end up doing it for her or trying to show her how, but she didn't care. She actually didn't know what the class was when she signed up for it. So we became really good friends. And at the time I was actually with someone else, but we were good friends and I had graduated. I guess she assumed she wasn't going to see me. And I found out she had a prom and no one to go with. And I said, well, would you like me to come with? And I can't remember. I may not have graduated at that point. I don't know. But anyways, something with either her parents or something was weird. And she actually wanted to, but for some other reason couldn't. And then some time had passed. I was working ridiculous shifts. And
At Best Buy? At Best Buy?
No, Home Day. I've never actually worked at Best Buy.
Oh, it is Home Depot.
Yeah, I worked at Home Depot.
I got him confused. Okay.
And I was a bookkeeper there. I was in charge of many, many things that I don't know why they put a 19-year-old in charge of. And I was paid crap, and I had horrible, horrible, horrible hours. I would be waking up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, constantly on call, just to go to work regularly. So
Right.
It was my birthday, I think my 20th birthday or something like that. And nobody really remembered this. I was sitting depressed as hell at my desk, just counting literal tens of thousands of dollars of money. If you don't know what a bookkeeper does, that's one of the things in my case, because I also did the finance stuff. And just thinking, wow, I'm working my life away, I'm in debt, and look at all this money. I like this little stack of money is what I make in a year. And
Yeah.
I just did 40 of them. And all of a sudden I get a text from her. Hey, happy birthday, how you doing? Just out of the blue. We hadn't spoken in probably 6 months. And so we started talking from there. We started dating. I think she was like kind of with this guy, kind of not, but it didn't last at all. And we started dating. Everything was really okay. I would go to my friends, work on his car. I would, kind of hang out and stuff, invite her, take her along.
And at this stage, did she seem normal? And
yeah, everything was fine, especially very early on in the relationship.
Okay.
And from all the time I knew her, which I don't know if it was 5 years at that point, but I basically had known her for 5 years. I never knew her to be someone that I didn't think I'd be happy with, I guess, or
Okay.
at least have as a good friend. And, we started, hey, why don't we take the motorcycle up to Oklahoma and check out Lake Texoma or something? Because I had an off-road bike, so we could actually just go on the trails and take real cool photos and stuff. We'd do stuff like this. And she kind of was popping the question like, hey, we should probably get married and stuff. And by this point, we'd been dating for a little while anyways.
Like, how long is a little while?
So the actual, day-to-day dating was way shorter than it should have been. I
Like
hated admitting this, but it
months?
was like...
How many months, yeah?
Maybe 6. It was really way shorter than it should have been. But, I thought, okay, whatever. And there was a lot of pressure
So
from
she brought it up.
It was kind of mutual. Like, I guess when you're with someone, you usually talk about that. Like, hey, or at least if you're serious. Like, when I'm with my girlfriend, I'm like, hey, we should probably get like a mutual bank account. So if you ever need money or something, things like that. Like the topic comes up because marriage in itself is literally just dating by law.
Yeah.
It's no different. It's not like, oh, we're married, we can do whatever.
But there is it's a different. you can breaking up is a lot different than getting a
Yes,
divorce, and
definitely.
there's a
And it
strong like
depends.
religious, cultural. I mean, marriage in a legal sense, sure, but not. I'd say it's a lot more serious than just a legal contract. Some people can take it that way, but it still bears the consequences of being much more serious.
So at the time, and this has been true my entire life. I have never associated myself with any particular religion. It's not that I'm an atheist or anything else. It's
Okay.
just I just never followed one. And so to me, it was just okay, whatever, legal marriage. I'm actually working on changing that right now, but um, so some time went by, and question kept coming up, question kept coming up. Because at first it was like, okay, this could work, and then it became like, oh hey, my dad said he'd pay for the wedding, and I think I was at work that day, and I was like, okay. And a couple months in, there was actual plans. Like we were looking for venues, we were figuring out who would come. I
And
actually,
you were convinced you wanted to marry her.
yeah, no, I was happy. Like the thing is I was definitely really depressed before, and I wasn't now. Um, and then she went off to college, and a lot changed. I don't know exactly what happened, but basically she started flipping out. It got to the
Ratman? Hmm. Alright, guys, I don't know if you can still hear me. Let's see. I think we lost him. Let's go ahead. I'm going to try to reconnect him here. We will be right back.
Can you hear me? Oh, okay. Because on my screen you disconnected. I've had issues with this Discord multiple times, or I'll still be connected, but nothing's happening. Okay.
All right. Sorry about that. Where were we?
Call.
Oh, God. Let's see if we can keep figuring this out. I died too, huh? Jesus.
Okay, we good?
All right. There we go. All right. Let's continue. So
Okay.
you at this point she went to college and she
Right.
started
She
to
went to
change.
college, and Texas is huge. So she was going to college in
Yes.
Corpus Christi, which is close to the bottom panhandle thing of Texas. And I, at the time, lived in Plano, which is about 9 hours apart. And she was going to school. She was really peer pressured to go to school. Like her family was just very well off. We're going to send you to college. You need to get a degree that makes a fuckload of money. It doesn't matter if you like it or not, kind of people.
Okay.
And she was going to school originally for marine biology, which doesn't sound easy by any means, and a very like a state college, just high end, skip community school altogether. Here the fuck you go. And she was all alone, had no idea how to live alone because her parents never made her do laundry or anything like that. So when she started going through this stuff, I kind of just assumed it was because she was stressed the fuck out. She wasn't eating, she wasn't taking care of herself.
Were
Like she
you
would feel
living
like,
with her at this time?
no, she had her own dorm. There were plans in place for me to move down the line. Like I had worked it out with my job. They were willing to transfer me. We were kind of looking for a place, but she had a dorm because I guess they already rented it or something. It was ridiculous. It was the size of a closet, like $1,000 a month. And I actually went and visited her once or twice to literally just do her laundry and go buy groceries for her.
Mm-hmm.
9 hours of driving. Um, and anyways, so she started acting really strange, blowing up at every little thing. And when I mean blowing up, I mean full on like screaming, hissy fit kind of thing.
Okay. And this was the wedding was set at this point.
More or less, yeah. I
So
think the date
was
set,
this when you started inviting people like me and the Rammers?
Oh, you know what? You're right. Yeah, everything was in place. We tried to do that before she went to college. So invitations, I think I was in the process of working on them. I don't know if a list was set or if we had started actually sending them out yet. But yeah, that was definitely around the time when I was like, hey, would you guys like to come?
Okay. And one thing is that I remember the story. Maybe you want to tell it before we continue. Is an interesting story. I think you were in a call with Ryder and some other Rammers, and your girlfriend was listening in or something, and they were invited to the wedding at that point. And then some things were said, and then they were disinvited. Do you remember that?
Okay. So I think I know which time you're talking about. I actually think it was with you.
No, I know it wasn't with me.
Well, there was an incident with you, but there was several. There was so many that I honestly don't recall them. I eventually just gave up, and it became the point where why do I even have a phone or a computer? I would go months without using either one, really, because...
Well, the story I remember is that Ryder was in a call with you, and something like this. Ryder had like an idiotic profile picture or something, and she's like, "Well, he looks fucking stupid," or something like that. And so he mocked her by saying, "Well, you look fucking stupid," and then
That's probably what happened.
and then she was like, "You're disinvited from my wedding," or something like that. At least that's what Ryder told me. I don't know if that was what happened or not. That's what I recall Ryder telling me. But so she was having little outbursts like that.
Right. But that would have been minor.
That's
Let me be clear.
Okay.
So I don't remember if she was back from college or not. That's getting ahead of myself. But basically, I was working at AutoZone at the time, and she would get angry at me for going to work because I wouldn't talk to her because you're busy. Anyways, it eventually got so bad, and I had to convince her parents because her parents are those kind of people that are super oblivious. Fast forward to today, she got with this guy that put a gun to her head, and I texted her parents and sent them all the chat logs and stuff. They're like, oh, well, she doesn't listen to us, and we doubt that's the case anyways. That's how they are. They just don't believe things. So anyways, I had convinced her parents, sorry, that, hey, you need to like do something about this. She isn't eating for weeks at a time. She's not taking care of herself. She's having like emotional breakdowns. So they finally went and got her, brought her back, pulled her out of college, which was this massive waste of money, but she was back home. And I think it was almost immediately after that we tried to get her therapy. And the problem was, again,
you're still not married. This is just engaged at this point, right?
Right. Yeah, no, this is October, maybe November. The wedding was in December. And we were trying to get her some help. And for some dumbass reason, her mom decided, well, let's just take her to a normal pediatrician or doctor or whatever. And she tried to open up and talk about the fact that she really wanted to kill people to my friends.
To a pediatrician.
Well, like a regular family doctor.
Like a doctor.
Right.
For psychological evaluation. For therapy.
Versus
which is
like a psychiatrist or a therapist.
Which is insane in my estimation.
Right. And she tried to open up about herself. And then the doctor kind of calmly said, okay, I think we need to have you professionally evaluated or sent to the ER. And naturally, for some reason, her mom took her to the ER. Basically, that evolved into her getting locked away in an institution for a week.
Jeez.
And they tried a bunch of drugs on her that turned her into a zombie, but didn't solve anything. So after we tried therapy, actual therapy.
So ridiculous.
And
that's so stupid.
It is.
That makes me mad.
And the thing is it was extremely expensive too. I think it was like $30,000 or $40,000 for them to basically take our blood pressure several times for a week.
It's so stupid.
Yeah. So we tried actual therapy, and I really wanted to be present at least the first time because I wanted her to feel secure, and I really wanted her to open up truthfully because she really liked to spin things around on me. And so I went there. I stayed mostly quiet the whole time unless the therapist asked me a question or something. And she explained something, I don't remember, but basically it resulted in the therapist saying, well, you can't just like keep him from his friends or he's going to resent you. You can't try to control his whole life, which is spot on, by the way. And
that's true.
She rejected this, and they never went back to another therapy session. Like literally one day, like the first day, and they never went back. So by this point,
and your entire experience with this woman prior to this is she's normal. She's a little anxious.
Very anxious. She's just very anxious.
But she's normal, and
for the most part, yeah.
And you think maybe college might have enabled that anxiety out of proportions to the point.
Well, so there were things before college, but college was like, okay, little weird, and then okay, this is getting concerning now. And by this point, both after therapy and college, so college would have been about June or so, it's getting pretty close to the wedding. And there's already money on the table. So I don't want to back out because the dress is bought, the invitations are bought, the venue's rented, etc. Everything's taken care of. And that would just go up in flames if I were to back out. So I want things to work emotionally, and then I want things to work financially.
You're attached to this woman. I mean, obviously.
Right.
You're about to get married to her.
And truth be told, even today, if she ever called me up and said, hey, listen, I'm in trouble, can you help me? I would.
Right. Well, yeah.
I just wouldn't live with her.
You have a... Like, there's probably a deep connection there because that's just what relationships do. So
after therapy or so, I can't remember if it was November or something, but keep in mind the wedding's in December 22nd, so it's pretty close. My dad has a stroke.
Oh God!
And so he's in the hospital for 2 weeks. Now it's 2 weeks before the wedding. I've got all this stuff just coming down.
Everything's coming to a head.
Right. And when my dad was in the hospital, I was trying to get my wife to stay with me because, well, she's unemployed. She never wanted to work. And I was going through a lot of emotional stress. And she really didn't. So much so that there's a scar on my hand from where she scratched me trying to leave the place.
Wait. Go back. So she's trying to leave?
She was trying to leave the hospital.
Oh. That she was at. Okay. And this was in December?
The hospital.
This was before the wedding.
Right. This was when my dad was in the hospital. So,
okay. So you were visiting him.
Right. I was visiting him because there was a really good chance he'd die.
Okay.
That's a long story. And I'm not supposed to talk about it for legal reasons. But anyways, basically he had a stroke and incapacitated, completely unresponsive. And there was a fair chance that he could die. So I was trying to take as much time as I could to be there. And I wanted my fiance to be there with me. Well, she didn't.
She didn't want to be there.
She did not want to be there. And so finally I'm like, okay, whatever, go fuck yourself.
How did she scratch you?
With her nails.
Well, no, I mean, obviously, but how does that... So you let her leave, or you were like, no, you should stay, and then she's like, get out of my way?
I think I was holding her hand or something, and she's like, I really want to go, and I'm like, look.
And then, you're like, yeah, okay, yeah, I see.
Yeah, I was like, look, this could be the last time I get to see him, especially the first, I want to say this was the first or second day he was in the hospital, and it was really bad. I was just like,
Is he okay now? Just...
Oh, yeah.
The audience.
Much
better. Oh, good.
This was 2 years ago. He did have to go back at some point for a sort of related thing, and recently he managed to get alcohol in his eye and blinded himself. But that's good too. So.
Oh, well, that's, yeah. Well, at least he's alive. At least he's okay.
Yes, he's alive.
Well, so she scratches you, and this is like 2 weeks before the wedding, and you're not thinking, okay, so this is what the thought doesn't cross your mind that maybe this isn't a good idea?
No, okay, so the thought was definitely crossing my mind, but it's 2 weeks before the wedding. What am I going to do?
Yeah, I guess.
It's not like, okay, well, we're getting married in 2018. Maybe we should put that off. And by the way, the sheer notion of putting the wedding off was not a fight I was willing to bring up again. Because the time...
Again?
I actually wanted to...
What do you mean? What do you mean bringing it up again? Oh, because you already tried?
I have in the past, for a multitude of reasons. A lot of it had more to do with just poor timing. December 22nd was 3 days before Christmas.
That's such a bad date. I was
I know.
like, dude, I would have gone if it wasn't like.
I know. That's everyone.
That it was like, do you just not want anybody to show up? That's what I was trying to ask you. It was like, man, I would be at your wedding in freaking 3 days before Christmas.
December 22nd, so it made sense to have the wedding on December 22nd.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And I wanted it in the summer, both because I actually wanted it like outdoors, but also because none of my family is going to be able to show up.
So it was like a year. The wedding was planned a year since you started dating.
It was planned on the same day, or the day we dated. We wanted that to be the wedding day, the same date for
right. So,
reasons.
but you said you started planning the wedding 6 months in to the relationship. So you had been together a year when you got married.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So
just clearing that up.
2 weeks go by. For the most part, it's pretty normal. And wedding day happens. And really the only thing that happened on wedding day was my truck misfired, and I had to rebuild the ignition system in a tuxedo 30 minutes before I was supposed to be at the wedding. And I made it on time.
Well, for everybody who doesn't know, Ratman's YouTube channel is Thumper Junkie, and he does car fixes and kind of auto stuff. I know nothing about that, so but just so everybody knows, if you didn't get a glimpse from that, from his car breaking down situation, I had no idea what he was talking about with the transmission and all those big words that I don't know anything about because I don't know anything about vehicles. But anyway, so continue.
So it started misfiring. It was running on 5 cylinders instead of 6, and fortunately the venue was.
Oh, I know that's not good.
20 minutes from. 20 minutes.
I know enough to know that's not good.
Yeah, no, it really wasn't, and I was genuinely concerned. Like, I knew enough to where if I have to drive on it, it won't destroy it. But I figured it should be an ignition coil.
It's a bad idea, but it won't wreck the car.
It should take me like 10 minutes to replace. It was a lot more complicated. But anyway, so I did that. I found out the pastor we hired for the event drive the same car as me and had the same problem. Got married, went to a hotel, and then we went to In-N-Out Burger. And she was still wearing her wedding dress, so we got like free milkshakes and free hats and things like that. And then things were mostly normal for the next couple of weeks while I tried to plan the honeymoon because it was very much an afterthought. We didn't think we could afford it. It was actually the gifts from the wedding that paid for it.
How did you feel at the wedding? Like when you know, man and wife, all that. How did that feel?
Oh, I was genuinely happy. And like I said, the whole time I was just thinking that I should be able to work this out. I would
totally confident that this was going to work out.
Not confident that it would work out, but that there should be a solution somewhere.
Okay. Yeah.
So went and had the honeymoon, visited you.
Yep, that was the highlight of this whole story. Hold on, rewind. All right, let's go back. This dude. All right, this is where I can interject. All right, this guy knocks on my door. He's 6 foot tall. I'm like, oh shit, this is the rat. This is the Ratman. I'm like, yeah. But yeah,
Resurrection Day.
Yeah, you're gonna fucking kill me for the Rammer cause. Yeah, sent assassin. I was, halfway worried about because you were the first online friend I met. It was for like
I had
5.
met Ryder before.
It was for 5 minutes. I was kind of dejected. I was like,
no, I was too.
I was like, I mean, I met Ryder and we got to hang out for a day, but anyway, so you come in and she introduced, you introduce her and she's like, hi. She doesn't say a word for the rest of the time. Very quiet.
No, she really is like that.
And very obvious through body language that she did not want to be there. So I was like, all right, we'll get a glass of water, say hello. It was really like small talk, which sucks because we're friends. Like we could have talked about a lot, like we could have hung out. But you're on your honeymoon. I was thinking, all right, I'm not going to judge. Whatever, right? Like they're on their honeymoon, and she probably doesn't want to have to deal with his Roblox friend or whatever for too long. So,
yeah.
So I was like, whatever. But it did feel like something was off, but I don't know.
So, fast forward quite a ways, and many of the issues that were present either had resolved themselves to some degree. Like, for example, before we got married, she did for a long time, she held the belief that women should have no rights, should not be able to vote, should not work, etc. And
wait. She believed that women shouldn't work.
Basically, serve men. That was her belief, and I didn't personally believe in that. But
me either.
Again, it was another fight that I didn't want to stir up, and I was just like, whatever. So quite a ways later, I was working at a college, and actually before that, I was working at a dealership, and she became obsessed with these foam squishy things, and to the point where she filled an entire closet with them. My paychecks were just going to squishies, and this wasn't working. First of all, I got a job at a college because I was trying to better myself and get a better future job, because apparently I was going to have to support both of us. And I was in the middle of college, and the alternator on the Pathfinder went out, and it was just so hot I couldn't replace it myself. So I paid someone to do it. It ended up being $900. This freaked her family out. This car has been extremely reliable for me. It's high mileage, but they basically said, you have to buy a new car. And by new car, I don't mean pre-owned. It had to be brand new on the lot or ordered, because the car I own now...
Which is a huge... For anybody that knows nothing about cars, as soon as you buy a new car, it decreases in value by like 70% when you drive it out of the lot. So buying new cars is not financially feasible.
Right, and
unless you're loaded.
I was already in debt. She kept buying squishies on my credit card and stuff, so it was incurring more debt. And then I just didn't want to buy a new car, period.
Right.
It was payments. Every car I had prior, it was just paid off. If something broke, it was like $200 for 1 month, not $200 every month. You had to carry full insurance, etc. Anyways, so had to be a new car. I actually found a car, the same exact everything as the one I own now. Just it may have even been the same year. Anyways, it had 4,000 miles on it, and it was a good $5,000 cheaper. They wouldn't let me buy it. So ended up buying...
Were they financially providing for you guys?
So we were actually living under their roof, because there was just no way I could support both of us, especially going to school. But even when I was working full-time, 50, 60 hours a week...
Well, no, you don't have to justify yourself. It makes sense.
No, I know, but that's what happened.
You were, what, 20 at the time? 21?
I was 21.
Yeah, so that's ridiculous.
By this point.
You can't, that's why people don't get married that young these days, is because you can't financially support... Right, like at that age, like there's not enough income. But
right, and I was genuinely trying, but again, they were pointing an arrow where they're like, "Well, when we were your age, we stayed in this house, or in our parents' house, and then bought a house at 27." I'm like, "Awesome!" Except, I don't think that's gonna happen with me. Might now. I'm
60 hours a week is fucking atrocious. It's a lot of hours.
It was awful. It was.
One sec. I gotta turn a fan on. I'm sweating bullets. Hold on, everybody.
Funny, I am too.
So damn hot here, man. Anyway, sorry. Continue.
I went to college.
Mm-hmm.
Got a college job. Now, on the listing, I just figured it was a desk job. I didn't actually realize it was going to be paid in financial aid, despite not having any, and a maximum of 20 hours a week. It was enough to pay my debt, my credit card bills, things like that, and then survive, but not a whole lot more. In fact, it worked out to be about $700, $700 or $800 a month, paid monthly, not weekly, not bi-weekly, monthly.
Jesus. This is for the car?
For the college job I had at the time.
Okay.
This would have been August. I had to buy the car in September. Now, fortunately, I had some financial aid, and I was selling a motorcycle.
This is 2017, right?
Right.
Okay.
So I had 2 motorcycles at the time. One was a project bike that I didn't want to get rid of. It was a really rare bike, but I sold it. I think I had already sold my other motorcycle, and her dad bought me the one I have now, but I don't recall exactly. But then I sold my Pathfinder, which actually went to a Hurricane Harvey victim. So I'm really happy with that. I worked with him on the price. But I had a sizable down payment, and I started looking at cars. I was looking for something practical. I wanted a stick shift because there was no way in hell I was going to let my wife drive it. She had not driven since she got her license, and I didn't trust her to either.
That's a little sexist, right, man? What's wrong with women drivers? Come on, Rat. What are you trying to say?
There's nothing wrong with women drivers.
I think we all heard. I think we all heard what you said. Women can't drive. Jesus, Ratman. Ratman hates women. Everybody.
Okay, well, there you go.
I'm just joking. That's what they do to me in the comments.
Yeah.
I'll say something like that, and then they'll bring it to that level.
I joke about my roommate. She's Asian, and routinely bumps into things. And I joke about, well, see, you're proving the Asian stereotype, but I don't have some of the best track drivers in the world.
Ratman, whoa, that is not politically correct to joke about.
I don't give a fuck.
Hold on, everybody. We have to cut off the stream now. Okay. Ratman's being politically incorrect.
All right.
So at what point did it start to really turn? That you really noticed that, like, this is like, oh my god.
Okay, so what happened? That's why the car thing is so important. So her parents saw it as, I'm buying a car for both of us, despite only one of us actually knowing how to drive. Legitimately knowing how to drive. She had a license, but hadn't driven in like 2 or 3 years. She did not know how to drive anymore. And I wanted something originally cheap. I was looking at like a 2015 Ford Focus with a standard transmission because I wanted a stick shift, which again was a very sore point with their family. They said you can't eat in it, it's unsafe, etc. Anyways, so I found one that they had discounted the hell out of because they couldn't move it. It was a 2015 and it's 2017 at this point, and it was brand new. It was $10,000. I had $7,000 of it in a down payment. I thought, this is great. I can buy this, have really, really low payments, except that it wasn't. They ran the numbers for me, and actually, they somehow managed to come up with the price of the car for $22,000, despite the sticker being like $10,700. So that wasn't going to work. Kept searching.
You should have just. Did you try to be like, hey, like this said $10,000, give me the price?
They weren't. So it was like mandatory upgrade packages. Like, oh, we put window tint, and I would literally be like, you can take it off. Oh, we put a security system in. Awesome, you can take it off, etc. Stuff like that. We put special antifreeze in it. I'm like, cool, put water in it. We live in Texas. So a couple weeks went by, and I'm thinking, okay, what am I going to buy? And I'm getting a lot of pressure from them to buy like stuff that's way out of my budget. We're talking like Ford F-150. Not a base model either, like nice version, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 cars. There was no way in hell I could afford these things. They wanted me to get a big SUV, etc., brand new. So then I stumbled across the Fiesta ST, which
they were expecting you to pay for it too.
Yes, they were willing to co-sign, but that was it because I don't have the credit to just pull this off by myself, which I told them. So I found the Fiesta ST. It's exactly the opposite of what every one of them wanted. It has no driver aids. It's a stick shift. It's a small car. It's a cheap car, etc. And they weren't going to let me buy it until we showed it to the dealership, and I was the one signing the paper. Bought the car. I ended up having to work 3 jobs from this point on because she still wasn't willing to work. So I was working at the school, going to school, and I think Whataburger with maybe some Uber Eats in there somewhere. Pretty brutal. This went on for a couple more months. February. I had finally begged her, convinced her, like literally got on my knees. I'm like, can you please get some sort of job? I can't do all this by myself. Because she was still buying squishies. Like,
still buying
Christmas
what?
Day, squishies. These little foam things. I just look them up on the internet. It makes more sense to see them than to explain them.
Okay.
She was still buying these things. Christmas Day, she got like some cool t-shirts, some cool gifts, and I think $100, and she actually threw a temper tantrum and her dad gave her another $400. So she was blowing all the money from any source on squishies and stuff, and I had begged her to get a job, and she finally did. So now I had some extra money, and certain things just weren't changing. It was becoming a trust issue thing with her, with me. She would assume that, as you said on your stream yesterday, you have like friends who are girls, and I also did. I didn't talk to them very much because, again, it's just a sore point. But one of my friends wanted a fish tank and I keep fish. I had a bunch of spare tanks and stuff, and so I offered to give them basically everything they needed to start.
Hold on. So for everybody, this is what she's spending the money on right here. This right here, like these little.
Yeah.
So your money too? Or are you paying for these, or just her parents?
Yes.
Jesus.
Yes.
So like what I'm seeing,
About
if you didn't get a
good,
good look at that, they're basically food and other weird things that are like blown up squishy toys, but they're just representative.
They're pieces of crappy foam. And I say crappy because they are actually low quality, not because they're crap. And some of these squishies go for $200-$300 a piece.
What's ridiculous?
And she collected those. She didn't go to the store and buy like the $2 keychain. No, she bought the sealed-in package scented hamburger or the toilet poop thing. Weird names. So, anyways, I had a friend who was a girl who wanted a fish tank. I had all these spare parts she was begging to get me to throw away, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to give these to her. They're all working parts. She wanted a fish tank. Get her started. Help her out. And immediately this became into, well, she's trying to cheat on, or I'm trying to cheat on you with her, and they want a three-way, and et cetera, et cetera. And it just kept going on and on and on. And I started caring less and less and less. I started hanging out with my friends, playing on my computer, doing whatever the fuck I wanted.
Well, you're at the point where you can't live this way anymore.
Exactly. Which I was before, but now I'm just like, okay, I don't care about the consequences. If she wants to fight with me, I'm just going to go to bed. And
which is pretty fair for me to do, I'd say.
Yeah. Right. And so from the very beginning, like literally, we were in Colorado on our honeymoon. She was already talking about divorce. All the way to the end, she was. And
she was talking about it in Colorado?
Yes, she was the first one to bring it up, and it was in Colorado.
Why? Over what?
She wanted to go home to see her crappy dog that hates everyone. We were at Colorado, I think, by this point, like 2 or 3 days.
On your honeymoon.
On our honeymoon.
She's mentioning divorce.
Correct.
Jesus. So it just keeps going.
Yes, and so I was planning to work on the divorce in the summer because I didn't want to interrupt school.
So at this point, you've given up trying to appease her, and you're just doing what you want, and you're like, okay, divorce is probably the option.
Yeah, I was literally like, okay, well, she has a job now. I'm at least leaving her in a better condition, but this isn't getting better.
Yeah.
So to speak. Like the only plus side was she was at least giving me her whole checks because she realized what she was doing was hurting me financially. But other than that, you know, I still had to deal with her family constantly giving me shit for my financial situation. One weird thing about her, she always did my homework, which I would ask her from time to time, hey, can you help me with this lab? Because I'm just swimming and stuff. But she got to the point where she did all my homework without me asking. So I wasn't learning anything. So
that's a good problem to have.
Sort of, except when you're taking advanced cybersecurity classes and you actually need to know what the fuck you're doing.
Right.
So my plan was to deal with this in the summer. Try and get through school. Didn't care if I got D's. Just try and get through these classes because they're pretty hard. Well, I was already pretty pissed off one day. I don't think I had said anything to her about it, but I don't remember the conversation exactly, but what I do remember is she came up to me and said, we need to get a divorce. I'm like, okay, done. And I literally walked out the door and never came back.
Have the papers been filed?
The closet behind me has the final papers. It's actually a finalized divorce. Everything is said and done. So technically I'm single. At least marital.
Good for you, man. I'm happy for you.
Yeah,
people are like, oh, you shouldn't be happy for divorce, but if it's a shitty situation, it's like, good. He's moved on. You weren't talking to me. I knew something was up. And you weren't talking to anybody. You weren't around. And you know what, man? I'm glad that you moved on. That was a shitty situation, and I'm glad I got to hear the details of it. And
And really, that's the gist of what happened. I didn't want to do it, and believe me, the divorce was ugly. The reason I got an apartment was because I was genuinely terrified that she would come do something. She's just a very vengeful person. And I live like 50-ish miles away from where I used to, and completely disappeared off the face of the planet for basically everyone, especially her. But she was, you know, those Phil Collins songs about like I don't care anymore and In the Air Tonight, lyric for lyric, doing that kind of stuff. Going to my friends, telling them these things that weren't even close to true. Telling people she called her friends these things that also weren't true, who would then come to me and be like, "Hey, are you okay?" And of course, the car was part in her dad's name and part in my name, despite me making all the payments. So I was worried about that. The motorcycle, I still am working on paying her dad off. I don't think he expects me to pay him back, but I plan to. So anyways, I was worried about a lot of different things, but fortunately she chilled the fuck out. I think it was because that guy she's with put a gun to her head and like put her in her place. I really don't know because I've given up trying to keep up. But what's kind of nice now is instead of doubting everything I say, her boyfriend, I guess, wanted to buy a motorcycle, and she came to me to try and help and try and steer him away from buying one just because he's not the kind of person who should be on them. So things have drastically improved. It was a very negative situation, and I'm out of it. There's a lot of weight off my chest. I've been a lot more energetic and stuff just because I'm not thinking, oh, great, I got to deal with this, or I'm not trying to censor myself. I basically couldn't say anything. If I talked about work and said the wrong thing, it would set her off, and now
That sucks.
I don't have to worry. I can talk to the person in my apartment as much as I want, and she'll listen all the time. It's awesome. I love it.
Good, man. Well, I can just tell how you look happy.
Shadow. Hey, Jamie. Shadow, come here. Fair enough.
I'm just saying. I mean, you look happy, man. You look good.
Yeah, and I definitely am. It was extremely stressful moving here because of the college salary and things like that. Nobody really wanted to approve us, but during the whole process, even during the initial days of the divorce, I was just like, wow, thank you. This huge weight lifted off my head. I've actually been trying to do some stuff that I've been too depressed to do for years, like code. I've been doing just all sorts of fun stuff.
There's somebody peeking in the back. That's really creepy because it's just the head. That's funny.
You can see the other cat too.
Oh my gosh. Well, please apologize for her if we disturbed.
We're not bothering you, are we? Okay, good.
Go on. Sorry.
So it's been very. It was an experience. I learned a lesson. I actually have a point of view that most people don't, because a lot of people come out of divorce and they're very bitter about it. Whereas I just wanted to get a divorce to legally be able to live my own life.
Good.
It's not that I don't like my ex-wife at all. Again, if she ever needed help, I would be happy to help her. I just couldn't live with her. I couldn't be in a relationship with her. And I learned a lot about being in a marriage, especially the weird aspects. Like her family were constantly pressuring me to get her pregnant, which wasn't going to work because I'm like, all right, so are you guys going to pay for it? Because, you know, that's expensive.
Parents seem weird to me.
The parents are very weird.
Everything you've told me about the parents makes sense for like the way that she was acting.
So the way she was acting probably had a lot to do with the fact that they never really punished her or her sister. Anytime they threw a temper tantrum, it was basically, here, have some money, have a treat, have the thing you weren't supposed to have, but here you go, etc.
Parenting has so much to do with how, you know, children behave. I mean, I was a shithead until I got sent away. So, I mean,
well, yeah, and you were definitely still a shithead when you got sent away. But
right?
It was fun because you'd get disconnected every 5 seconds. You're like, Kyle, my internet. It's the Shadow.
Fucking save me.
Oh, he doesn't like to be picked up and he's much bigger.
But anyway, man. Well, I need to get some food. But hey, man.
Sure.
Listen, I had a great talk with you. I really enjoyed hearing the story. I hope you're going to be on more. I really miss hanging out with you, and maybe you'll come up and see me sometime soon.
The plan is to be online more. I'm actually possibly going to start making videos on my channel more. But right now, with my work schedule all over the place, it kind of depends. But it is in place. I'm planning to go back to college. I'm planning to kind of be online more. I don't know if I'll be online on Roblox, to be fair. It's just
Lumber
shifted in a
Tycoon.
direction.
Just Lumber Tycoon.
No, not even that. The whole game has shifted in a direction where it's just not fun anymore.
Hey, I don't play it either, man. I just manage shit, so I'm with you. So, listen, I'm glad you're in a better place, and I hope that you're online so we can have calls and stuff, and get on Discord, man. Nobody uses Skype, all right? I don't want to see you on Skype.
I am on Discord. My Discord's always open.
I had to make you get a Discord, and you still never used it, and now it's finally being used.
But we already went over why that happened.
Yeah, I know, but now you need to get on it. You need to change your picture from the default gray Discord. Default? Yeah, make it like the Space Cats or something, man.
Ooh.
Come on.
Tempting. All right, well, I'll let you go.
Well,
thank you for having me.
Once again, his YouTube is Thumper Junkie. So if you're interested in cars, if you are interested in Ratman and his story and his personality, which I'm sure many of you are, he's a great guy. Please go subscribe and check him out. Ratman, once more time, thank you for coming.
Absolutely, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Bye.